Desai, or is this?
Yeah, okay. So I think we are
Plain
connected
business?
live now. We can start. Let me try to increase the brightness of the webcam. Yeah, we can start now.
Okay, welcome all. We have with us Mr. Pratik Desai, who's a spiritualist and a businessman, having done his master's in aerospace engineering from US, an Ivy League college. He has also studied the scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, and he is very knowledgeable on the Vaishnava philosophy. So, with the eagerness to guide seekers on the path of spirituality, Pratik ji takes a lot of efforts to speak to various seekers and even address forums where he can disseminate this wonderful knowledge. He's also written a fantastic book on 20 plus no facts about Hinduism. This book is available on Amazon, and Pratik ji maybe could share some details later on about this. Today's topic is about Bhakti Yoga. So, Pratik ji will be telling us how Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate path to realizing the divine. So, Pratik ji, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Rajiv ji, for again having a talk show. And it's always a pleasure to be with you and all the audience also. So, yeah, I think your voice is a bit low, Rajiv ji. Maybe you can speak louder, or probably your voice is low. I think we have lost Rajiv ji. Nidima, are you able to see Rajiv ji?
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for a moment we lost you.
Am I audible?
Your video is not. Your video is. It has stopped. The motion has stopped.
Okay, but am I audible?
Yeah, now you are audible. Quite good. Okay. So yeah. So this topic has been a very important topic to address, because many people, they have studied different paths, they follow different paths, and so sometimes when we claim that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, then obviously the question is that is that not biased to say that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate path, and what about the other paths? So basically there is obviously sound reasoning for everything that we claim. Nothing is sentimental. Now we'll go through most of the paths that people follow, not just from India, but maybe outside India also. And we know that spiritual influence, the culture of India has a lot of influence in the Western culture also, especially when it comes to spiritual culture. So most of the people, they seek spiritual knowledge and they come to India. And this is something that India is unique to contribute in the world. So materially, India may not be able to contribute as much as other developed Western countries, but spiritually, India has been contributing the major philosophies and concepts. And many people from the Western countries, they come to India and they try to study Indian philosophy. So let's try to explore different paths. First, we'll talk about the different paths which are followed and practiced within India. And it can, like, obviously, if someone is inspired, they can also follow it outside of India also. But these are the major paths that people follow in India. And which are these paths? So these are the now, depending on the acceptance of the scriptures, Vedic scriptures, and depending on the rejection of the Vedic scriptures, these paths are divided into two categories. One is the Astik path and one is the Nastik path. Now, Nastik does not mean that someone does not believe in God. It's just that they do not follow the Vedic scriptures, which means Shrutis and Smritis, and the all the entire paraphernalia of the Vedic, the gamut of scriptures that we have in our Vedic culture. So people, they don't follow that. And for example, Buddhism, then Charvak philosophy, and then Jainism, and there are some other different philosophies also which do not accept the authority of the Vedas or the Shruti and the Smritis or Sanatan Dharma. And there are a lot of paths which accept the principles of the Vedas in the sense that they quote from the scriptures. They quote from the Vedic scriptures. So in that sense, their foundational principles are based on the Vedic scriptures. So they accept the authority of the Vedas or Shruti and Smritis. So that way we have two paths here, Astik and Nastik path. And Astik path is basically developed, or it is promoted by 6 different philosophy. It is also said as the 6 systems of philosophy, which is the yoga, which is promoted by Patanjali. Then we have the Sankhya philosophy, which is promoted by Kapila. Now, this Kapila is not the same as Lord Kapila from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This Kapila is the atheistic Kapila, who has promoted his own philosophy. And then we have the Nyaya philosophy, which is promoted by Gautam Rishi. Then we have the Vaisheshika philosophy, which is promoted by the Kannada. And then we have the Purva Mimamsa or Karma Mimamsa philosophy, which is promoted by Jaimini Rishi. Now, I just wanted to clarify one thing, that Jaimini Rishi and then we have at the end we have the Vedanta philosophy, which is obviously, as we know, that it is given by Vyasdev. Now, Jaimini Rishi, although people, they claim that he is the one who is actually providing the Karma Mimamsa philosophy, which is having to do with Karma Yoga and basically dealing about karmas. But actually, Jaimini Rishi, according to the Vaishnava philosophy, is actually a great pure Vaishnava of the Lord. And in a particular scripture, one great Vaishnava actually explains the point that just like Shankaracharya was ordered by the Supreme Lord to propagate the philosophy of Mayavad or Advaitavad, so similarly, Jaimini Rishi was also advised and instructed by the Lord to promote Karma Mimamsa philosophy. But anyways, let's stick to the point that, okay, he's a propagandist of the Purva Mimamsa philosophy. So now, what are these 6 different philosophies? Now, I don't have a detailed knowledge about the minute details of all these 6 different philosophies, but the conclusion is quite popular and quite well known. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just sharing the conclusion, because every path, they have their own goals. Like, every path wants to achieve a goal, particular goal. And that's why different people with different notions, conceptions, they follow different paths, because they are habituated, they are used to, or they are naturally inclined towards some path. So they feel that, okay, this path makes, it's quite naturally coming to me, although logically it may not be the supreme one. It may not answer a lot of questions also. But some people, because of their karmas, because of their past inclinations, they tend to follow this particular path. So what we'll do is, I will provide the essence, I will share the essence of these 6 different philosophies. And at the same time, we'll also compare it with our Vedanta philosophy. Now, again, Vedanta is also divided into different paths, depending on the interpretation you have, depending on the interpretation, the way you interpret the scriptures. So we have the Advaitavad, and then we have the 4 Vaishnava philosophies, which give a Vaishnava understanding of the Vedic scriptures. So now, what is Sankhya philosophy? Sankhya philosophy, in short, in brief, it says that the Atma is different from the body. So they do understand and they acknowledge the fact that the Atma is not same as the body, and they are 2 different things. And it also acknowledges the fact that there is an Atma. Atma, and they also say that Atma is different from matter. But there is no supreme entity. They don't believe any supreme entity as such. So there is, like, for example, in our Advait philosophy, at least we have a supreme Brahman, or some absolute truth is there who is controlling things. But here there is no concept of, because Sankhya philosophy is actually an atheistic philosophy. It is concerned more with the material elements, the analysis of the material elements, and how to understand that the Atma is different from the body. and then finally to realize the Atma. So it is also different from matter, but it does not state that there is a supreme entity. So this is the understanding in Sankhya philosophy. Then we now discuss about the yoga, which is promoted by Patanjali. I mean, I think we have till now we have all heard about Patanjali. It's very famous because of Ramdev Baba. So because of his products, now Patanjali has been become very popular. And let's try to understand what is the philosophy. So Patanjali is basically developing of Ashtanga Yoga in order to concentrate our mind. Okay, and it is also consisting of worshipping the Paramatma within us or accepting a personality. But the uh, one particular paradox is that although they do believe that there is a supreme entity and he also has a personality, but their ultimate goal is actually merging in the body of the Lord. And they also believe that in perfected state, the concept of Purusha is vanquished, or one cannot remain a perfected person if he attains a personality. Okay, so the idea is that, okay, you believe in a supreme entity, you believe in Paramatma, he has a form, but then the goal is that you merge in the body of the Paramatma, and then in the perfect state, it's not possible for you to have a form. So it's kind of a vague impersonal philosophy ultimately. Uh, then we come to Nyaya philosophy. So Nyaya philosophy, it is promoted by Gautama, and he says that through logic we can actually understand everything. And he also provides some evidence of the supreme personality, supreme entity. It is monotheistic in nature, does not believe in many gods, just one god, one supreme entity, actually not even god, but a supreme entity. And that is impersonal, also again impersonal philosophy. So basically it is understanding the absolute nature by the process of Gyan Yoga. Okay, so this is in brief the philosophy of Nyaya. Then we come to Vaisheshika philosophy, which is promoted by Kannada. Now, again, Vaisheshika philosophy is, it is basically connected with dealing with the material elements. And he says that everything can be reduced to atoms and everything is activated by God. But that, they do not define the way God should be, how God has activated things. And so again, it's an impersonal concept. They do believe that there is a God, but again, they use Gyan Yoga in order to understand, to realize the absolute nature. But again, it's an impersonal sort of philosophy. And then the last one is Karma Mimamsa philosophy. So as we have already heard about Karma Mimamsa in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna is actually convincing the Brajvasis of this Karma Mimamsa philosophy. And he says that actually, when after Krishna, before Krishna is lifting the Govardhan hill, so Indra is actually, he tries to devastate the entire Braj, and he's downpouring torrents of rainfall so that every Brajvasi can be, they can be destroyed. So that time, now the reason for this is because Krishna is actually asking Nand Maharaj and the Brajvasis to stop the fire sacrifice or the yagya for Indra, and to actually utilize the paraphernalia for the glorification and worship of Govardhan. So then that time, in order to somehow make the Brajvasis convinced of the fact that there is no absolute controller as such. Now, obviously, this is a disguised conviction that Krishna is actually promoting here. It is not the fact. Karma Mimamsa philosophy, although Krishna is stating, but then obviously we have thousands of statements by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedic scriptures that he is the supreme person and then he is the supreme controller, like that. And from him comes all the karma and all that, right? So, so what he says is that ultimately everything is based on karma. So no one can control others' life. If whatever karma you do, that will give you result, appropriate result. And if Indra is supposed to give rainfall, he has to give. There is no way. We don't have to please Indra in order for him to bestow rainfall and provide that. So basically what it says is it denies the controlling ability of the supreme person and says that actually everything ultimately is controlled by the karma that we perform in this world. And so that's why it is emphasized more on karma yoga, and it also emphasizes on rituals, then rules and regulations and everything. And basically it also believes in the principle of polytheism. Now it's an obvious thing because there are so many demigods who are there defined in the Vedic scriptures. So it believes in the principle of polytheism, not just one god. So because there is no controller, no absolute control, that is why they acknowledge the presence of many gods. But again, everything is achieved by karma, and their goal is to elevate to Swargaloka, like that. So the emphasis mainly is on karma. So that way, now we have discussed all these 6 philosophies, and now we will also discuss. I'm sorry. We have discussed 5 philosophies. Now we come to Vedanta philosophy. So this Vedanta philosophy is, as promoted by Vyas. He is the one who is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra and the Mahabharata, the Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavatam, all the other scriptures, Puranas, Itihasas, and all that. And the Vedanta philosophy is generally, it is an all-inclusive philosophy because it talks about everything. It talks about karma, it talks about jnana, it talks about dhyana, talks about Ashtanga Yoga, it talks about bhakti, it talks about oneness, difference, everything. It's all inclusive philosophy in short. And there are many statements in the Upanishad. Now, generally, if we want to refute any particular idea or misconception, then we have to generally we try to quote it from Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and the Vedanta Sutra. So these are like the basic principles by which you can actually refute the misconceptions of other philosophies. So now the issue is that although Vedanta includes everything, but then some, there are some acharyas, some sages who have promoted one aspect of the Veda, and then certain other sages, they have promoted another aspect of the Veda, and then another aspect is also promoted. Like that, many different aspects are promoted. But Vaishnava philosophy is promoting the highest all-inclusive philosophy, and that we'll understand because we'll go through the fallacies in logic of all these different philosophies, and we'll also come to the the greatness of the logic of the Vaishnava philosophy. Now if we want to establish the fact that Bhakti Yoga is the supreme goal and the ultimate goal, then obviously we have to refute in terms of philosophy. We have to also understand through logic, because scriptures, all these personalities, they are quoting scriptures, they are using scriptures, but then their interpretation is all different, and they are taking certain aspects of the scriptures and they are promoting that aspect. They are not giving the complete and holistic understanding of the scriptures. Okay, so this is the understanding of the 6 systems of philosophy. Any questions or comments about this till now?
Yes, Rohit. One query is that you're going to base your arguments or the philosophy you will discuss will be based totally on Vaishnavism.
So basically, we'll understand that why Vaishnavism is most logical. That is the point here. Although, so I mean, see, we are not going to base our arguments just because Vaishnav understand, or someone is a follower of Vaishnavism. That's why we base our understanding on that Vaishnav philosophy. The point is that now we know all the philosophies. Now we know the goals of all the philosophies. Let's try to compare these philosophies, all of them together, and let's try to find out which is the most logical and philosophy and provides the maximum answers to our questions. It should make sense to us, because ultimately, see, now according to scriptures, Shastra Praman, Anuman, and Pratyaksha. So these 3 things are there, very important evidences how one can understand the absolute nature of the supreme personality, supreme entity. Shastra Praman, everyone is using here. They all are using Shastra Praman. And then now what we have to do is we have to use Anuman, inference, and logic we have to use. Pratyaksha is something which is a personal experience, direct experience, that once you follow the path, you experience certain results. So basically the point is that you take a path, you follow that, and you will still get the results, because that path is sanctioned in the scripture. It is sanctioned by someone. Okay, that's why you get the result of that path. So all paths are bona fide, they are all genuine. But then, there are certain fallacies in their understanding. And we also can easily understand that they are not promoting the all-inclusive philosophy. They are only taking certain aspects of the scriptures, which is not the goal of Vyasdev. Now, Vedanta Sutra, Vyasdev, he has clearly mentioned that if there are two contrary statements in a scripture, then we cannot reject the other statement. We have to reinterpret in such a way that uh, we need to reconcile both of them. So we cannot just reject the statements. Like, for example, there is a statement such as Tattvamasi, you are that. So generally, the Advaitwad interpreters, they will say that you are that, you are God, you are the supreme Brahman. Yeah, so that is correct. But then, Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita that Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, right? So that all these living entities, they are my eternally fragmental parts and parcels. And then Krishna also says that there is no truth superior to me, right? And I am the Sarvasva Prabhu, Mata Sarvam Pravartate. Everything is manifesting from me. Everything emanates from me. And then there is a description of Golok Vrindavan in the scripts, like Upanishads, Gopal Tamani Upanishad, and then some different Upanishads. They have the description, and then there is also a description in the Shvetavatra Upanishad that the Lord is full of rasa vaisa, right? So now, how does the Lord have ras? If he has ras, he is a person, right? Then there is a purpose behind the ras, and then obviously the fact that the abode of the Lord is mentioned in the scripture, and it is said to be eternal. So what does that mean? It means that there is one path also existing, which other people, other sages, they are just rejecting that path, just in order to promote that philosophy. Anyways, but the idea is that let's try to compare all these philosophy logically. Now we are not having any Vaishnav argument in this particular thing. Let's try to analyze the fallacies of these philosophies. So any comment or any question? Okay, so now, let's start with Sankhya philosophy. Now, Sankhya states that, okay, we realize Atma is different from the body. There is no God. Atma is different from matter and no Brahman. Okay, so now, okay, should I also cover about something about Buddhism and Jainism, and then we can move on to compare different philosophies? I just forgot that. Or okay, let's come to that later. Let's try to compare these philosophies first. Okay, now what do you think? What is missing and what is lacking in this particular philosophy of Sankhya?
So by Sankhya, you mean atheistic philosophy, right?
The atheistic philosophy, yeah, of Kapila.
Well, if they don't believe in a superpower, a creator, then we have this entire creation.
Can you speak louder?
So, if the Sankhya philosophy is atheistic and not believing in a creator, not believing in a creator, then how do we explain this entire creation that is there in front of us? That is our lived experience. We see this beautiful creation, so nothing comes of its own. So, how does the starting point of this atheistic philosophy, how would it stand?
Exactly. I mean, this is sufficient enough to accept that, well, it does not make sense, because ultimately, see, that's why it is also said as atheistic philosophy, because there is no God. So it's like kind of similar to Darwin's theory also, that there is no God, everything is created from nothing, everything just, and what are the answers to these questions? Where all these elements have come from? What is the source of these things? And then why people carry karma? Why people carry, what is the source of Atma? And then, karma, what is the source of karma? Why different people, they have different karmas?
Do they believe in Atma first of all? Because when there is no
Yeah.
creator, there is the Atma. They will talk only of matter, material. They don't acknowledge the existence of Atma, I think.
No, they, as I said, that they do accept the Atma is there and it is different from the body. And the goal is to realize the Atma.
Okay.
So you see, it is very clear. Like, I mean, it does not require much argument or much analysis that why, this kind of philosophy does not make sense at all. So it is just mainly concerned with the creation of the material elements and analysis on the material elements and how the Atma is different. So many of the questions are not answered. Okay, now we come to, Nidhi ji, you have any question or comment?
No, no, Prabhuji. No.
Okay, now we come to the yoga philosophy, Ashtanga Yoga. So according to this, again, to reinstate that, according to the Yoga Patanjali system, Ashtanga Yoga is the way to worship and to realize the Paramatma, and then to accept the personality of the Supreme, but then ultimately merge into the body of the Supreme Lord. And then it states that one cannot remain in a perfect state if one has a form at the end. So now, what is the fallacy of this?
It does not acknowledge the creator as a person.
Yeah, exactly.
But how do we bring out the importance of this aspect of it being a very important deficiency in the path? And that is something maybe you can.
Yeah. So see, one thing can be questioned, and I think this question is common to all these philosophers, is that, okay, you have given a specific path and you have defined a particular path, but then who has given the right to bestow the fruits or the reaction to that particular path? Do you understand this? Like, okay, someone may say that, Rajiv ji, you follow this, and you will get this result. Now you can only get the result if that person is the controller, right? But if he's not the controller, why you have to listen to that person? That's the first thing. So, someone, just because someone is saying that God is impersonal and we cannot attain, we cannot be in a perfect state if we are with form, who is sanctioning that? The scriptures are giving all-inclusive philosophy. It talks about nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidati kamam. That eternally nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam. So the supreme soul is the supreme consciousness, and then he is providing that chetananam. That consciousness is providing to all the living entities also. He is actually the source of that. And then Bhagavad Gita shloka, this Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke. So, and then it also talks about Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shuyate, that the Supreme Lord is actually, he possesses Shakti, and the Shakti causes transformation. Okay. And Gyan Bala Kriya, all these things are manifesting from the Shakti of the Supreme Lord. So, if a person does not have Shakti, then he becomes formless. But then the scriptures are saying that all these Shaktis are present in the Supreme Lord. So, what is the, what is the guarantee that whatever someone is claiming, whichever sage or person he may be, if he is unable to provide the reaction of a particular path, then he cannot claim that, right? So one way is that, okay, we acknowledge the fact that, okay, you have chosen a particular path, we appreciate that, and we respect that path, and you attain the results of that path also. But to say that there is nothing beyond this, that is obviously a fallacy. So you are just trying to take one aspect of the philosophy and then trying to promote that. So this is not valid, right? So another question is, and this question is also applicable to philosophies which promote God as impersonal, is that from where do we have karma? If the Supreme Lord is impersonal, where do we have karma from? And let's say, even if we have karma, let's assume that, okay, we got karma from nowhere. Okay, we are eternally subjected to injustice in this life because karma makes people suffer. It's a fact. I mean, obviously we experience happiness also, but then we also experience a lot of distress. And there are so many people who are physically challenged right from the beginning of their life. They have so many challenges in terms of health, in terms of emotions, in terms of material needs and all that. But we may have certain opulence in this world, but it's not necessarily everyone is happy in this world. So karma is making us suffer for sure. So where it is coming from? Why it is only directed to a certain living entities? Why not we have a common pattern for all the living entities? Why only specific people, they have specific kind of challenges? So this particular aspect, now see, again, there is no karma. I mean, suddenly there is a karma, and then you attain a state ultimately which is free of karma. Does it make any logic, any sense? Like you have karma, and then suddenly you attain a state which is free of karma, no activities. So it does not make sense. There is no consistency in the philosophy, and there is injustice. One can always say that why why I'm suffering, and from where I'm getting the karma. So these are like for the impersonal philosophies, these are the common questions that they are unable to answer.
But if I
Yeah.
I have one query. This you are saying with respect to the yoga Ashtanga yoga path, right? Of
This
Patanjali.
is in general for personal philosophy.
We refer to for
Impersonal philosophy.
And Patanjali's path comes under the same.
Yeah, it's just that their way is different. Like accept in the beginning and then reject in the end. And the acknowledgement that there is a supreme entity as a person, but then at the end you forget that. So that's kind of a strange philosophy. Like Advaitavad is a very clear philosophy that everything is Maya, only Brahman is supreme, and Brahman is real. Everything, Brahman Satya Jagat Mithya. So that is very clear in their understanding. But this is a bit of mystery and not so clear, this philosophy of Ashtanga Yoga. Yeah. So maybe what they are doing is they are appreciating the aspect that there is some supreme living entity who is controlling things. Maybe they do believe that, but then after the final state you become one with that supreme, and generally they would like to merge in the body of the Lord. So they understand that there's a Paramatma who is ruling and controlling things in material world, but then finally the goal is to actually attain Sayuja Mukti, or impersonal liberation, merging in the body of the Supreme Lord. Now, in one sense, according to the answer which is given by the Vaishnava Acharyas, they say that actually this kind of liberation is even more, it's even more dangerous than merging in Brahman, because here one wants to become the Supreme Lord, one wants to become the enjoyer, like that. So, so yeah, these are the philosophies. I mean, these are the fallacies in the particular philosophies that we are discussing. Then we come to Nyaya philosophy. Again, like through logic, we can understand everything. And it also provides evidence for the supreme entity, monotheistic but impersonal. Not so clear by using logic, because Shastra also says that the Lord is actually not known by logic. Mahabharata clearly states that. and it is said that it's only the Lord who chooses someone, so that knowledge is revealed to that person. So merely through logic, one cannot understand, because we also require the kripa, the mercy of the Supreme Lord, in order to understand Him. So just by logic, to understand, again, now, what is the goal? What kind of goal they are trying to attain? I mean, there is no clarity in that. Then Vaisheshika philosophy, everything can be reduced to atoms.
Sorry, isn't liberation the final goal for all these paths?
Yeah, I mean liberation, which means basically you want to just get free from suffering. And so maybe it's a way to actually kind of cover up that suffering and say that, oh, you get liberation. So what is ultimate liberation? That has to be defined properly. So like, just because Vedic scriptures talk about impersonal liberation, that's why they bring in this factor of impersonal liberation. Like, so these are the people who are accepting Vedic scriptures. So obviously, if they do not accept certain things from the scriptures, then they will be Nastic. So in order to be Astic, and in order to preserve the sanctity of the Vedic scriptures, they have to incorporate certain things from the Vedic scriptures. So they have added this element of, okay, you liberate yourself, become. But impersonal liberation as such actually has never been understood properly. There is no answer.
So can we say that if there is a measure of the complete philosophy, which is the correct philosophy, then these other paths are a subset of that? Can we call them a subset, or we say that they're wrong, completely wrong, and they are a wrong direction to take?
Yeah. So as far as, yeah, I mean, I would say that, it all depends on the specifics of the path. If the path has a parampara and it has been sanctioned by the Supreme Lord, then definitely they can get the result of that particular aspect of what they're following. But if it does not have a parampara, it means it has started from a person, right? And that person should be empowered by the Supreme Lord. If he is not empowered, then he cannot bestow the results of that path, because he is not the controller. Any Jeev Tattva, they cannot control things. So there are a lot of followers of these paths, and I am not sure if they have a parampara. But if there is a parampara and it is sanctioned by the Supreme Lord, then maybe just by following that path, they will attain that goal. Now again, this particular type of liberation, according to our understanding, is not even actually eternal liberation. It is a temporary form of liberation, because what we say in our Vaishnava philosophy understanding is that Jira Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas, that the soul by constitutional position is actually eternally servant of Krishna Nityadas. And it is also stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhuko Vinay Shavanadi Sudhistiti Karya Udhay. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, or the love for the Lord, is already inherent in the Jiva. And just by Shavanadi Shuddha Chitti Kare, means just by the process of Shravanam Kirtanam, one can purify oneself, and one can actually realize that they have love for the Lord, and they can develop that love. So that's a very specific thing. Vaishnava philosophy talks about. I mean, this is just not from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it's stated in the Vedic scriptures that we are all eternally servant of the Supreme Lord, and our goal is to please the Lord and serve the Lord. Okay, so, and then the Lord is also present in different forms. He's not just present in one form. So there is the Brahman form, there is the Paramatma aspect of the Lord, and there is the Bhagwan, the personal aspect of the Lord. So he is existing in all these three stages. And that's how it makes perfect sense to say that Vaishnava philosophy is all inclusive. So now let's talk about something about the Vedanta philosophy by Advaita, specifically by Advaita. So we know that, okay, sorry, I think I missed to discuss about Karma Mimamsa. Karma Mimamsa, anyways, I think we have discussed that karma is the main emphasis, it's the main goal. They want to elevate to the heavenly planets. and they believe that it's an eternal process. Like, we just keep on moving up and down. So basically, one of the immediate fallacy that we can understand in karma mimamsa is that we cannot be free eternally. We cannot be free from suffering eternally, because we keep moving up and down in this karma philosophy. So as described in the scriptures, even if you perform some karma, then you attain a part, if you you perform pious karma, you attain heavenly planets. If you perform impious karma, you go to the hellish planets. So you are going up and down, right? But then, okay, so if karma is the goal, but then that karma is giving us suffering. So why should I, how is that helping me to achieve peace and happiness eternally? So it does not, does not talk about liberation and all that. You just keep moving up and down in the cycle. And then obviously the question is, so many gods are there. Let's assume they have created this world. Why they have created the world? Why the living entities are here? So that is not answered. And because, it says that there is no supreme God. They're like a polytheistic philosophy. So then how do you understand that, what was the reason why we are here? And then if it is just about karma, so we can, they say that, okay, karma may be eternal. Again, the same question. Where from the karma has generated? And it is also stated that even the gods, they are all under karma. They cannot act independently. Depending on the karma, they will give that particular result. So they are also under control of karma. See, now the basic philosophy, the basic fallacy in all these philosophies is that you cannot impose a philosophy on others unless you have the power to control things. It's a very simple thing to understand. So in all these philosophies, if you do not do this, if you do this, you will get this, you will get that. But then, and then at the same time, there's also a contradiction. They are saying that, well, there is no supreme God, there's no absolute controller. No one can control you. So then who is controlling? When you say do's and don'ts, there is someone who is controlling you. It is obvious. So, this is the simple fallacy that all these philosophies have. I mean, they kind of indirectly reject the authority and the controlling nature of the supreme absolute truth. But then indirectly they say that, well, you don't do this, you do this, you will attain this, you will attain that. When you cannot control, how can you give that result to others? It's a simple thing. And now coming to the Vedanta philosophy. So Vedanta, again, as I said, that there are different types of interpretation. So one is the Advaita, and then there is the Dvaita. And then there are the Vaishnava philosophies. Dvaita is obviously promoted by Madhvacharya in order to refute the philosophy of Shankaracharya. Now again, see, in order to better understand Vedanta philosophy, let's try to also understand what is the philosophy of Buddhist and Jain. Now see, what I don't have a detailed knowledge. Let me admit, I don't have a detailed knowledge about the minute aspects of this philosophy. But what I've heard when I've spoken to people from the Buddhist sect and from the Jain sect is that there is a slight difference in their philosophy. And the Buddhists say that nothing is existing, right? Everything is void. And we do have karma. We also take reincarnation. Okay. And I mean, again, the point is that reincarnation itself means that who is awarding you that body? You cannot award yourself that body, right? Because you are not you are not the control of karma. You are under the control of karma. So who is awarding that body in the next life? So just by rejecting the absolute personality or controller, they are contradicting themselves by saying that, okay, there is a reincarnation, there is karma. And so now another question is that, okay, then the gross body is gone. So who is continuing in the next life? There is no Atma according to Buddhist philosophy. So who is continuing in the next life? So they kind of make it up and say that, okay, it's a subtle body. Subtle body goes along, and then, and ultimately the subtle body has to liberate by completely negating its personality. So everything becomes void. The entire material world, karma, everything, if you want to get free from it, just, follow the process and attain voidness, which means existing is completely destroyed. At least in Brahman, the existing is, it is there in the Brahman. It is merged, or, we realize that we are Brahman. So there is some supreme entity. But here, there is no existence of any particular living entity. Completely destruction, void. Again, the point is that how do we know that? Like, unless there is a supreme controller, you cannot really say that, okay, ultimately everything is void. You may want to become void. It may be your desire, because the Lord will fulfill your desires. He it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, ye thamram prapadante tam stataiva bhajamiham, that as one surrenders to me, I reward them accordingly. So if you approach the supreme entity in a particular way, you will get the result of that, because there is someone who is sanctioning that. He's allowing that to attain your path. But if you just reject the Supreme Lord, now who is the one who is actually deciding what are the do's and don'ts and what kind of stages, body you are going to attain in the next life? Again, so it's and obviously in the Srimad Bhagavatam Puran, it is mentioned that Buddha is actually the avatar of the Supreme Lord. So there was a purpose why he came, and he had to reject the Vedas, because he wanted to establish he wanted to reject animal killing, wanted to stop that forever. So because in the name of yajna, which are described in the scriptures, they were killing animals. And in order to stop that killing of animals, in order to promote the philosophy of non-violence, Buddha came and he temporarily rejected the Vedas and he established his own philosophy. So that for the time being, at least people, they stop killing animals in the name of yajna and sacrifice. Now see, it is very interesting how Jainism is also kind of close to this philosophy, and Jainism is also close to the philosophy of Advaitavad. So Jainism, what I've heard is that karma is eternal, and if you follow a particular path, which is mentioned by the Tirthankars, they have like 24 Tirthankars, I think, and if you follow the path mentioned by the Tirthankars, then you attain, you become God. You attain a state of God, or you become God. So now, what is the definition of God according to them? As far as I have discussed, what they say is that God is someone who knows the past, present, and future, and he is realized in himself. That's it. So now again, there is no starting point, end point. You are saying that you can become God. In between, you have karma. So where is the consistency in the philosophy? There is no answer for, why karma? Why do we have karma? What is the source of karma? And then again, because there is no absolute controller, everyone is God. So how can a Tirthankar decide, or how can a person decide that this is the path that you must follow, and you will attain this goal after you follow this path? Again, it's the same thing, imposition of being a controller. Although believe that, okay, no controller, but again, the fact that you have to follow do's and don'ts, it's an imposition of being trying to control. The simple logic. So see, Jainism, they define that there is a supreme entity. They also have karma. They also believe in incarnation, but there is no Bhagwan described. There is no impersonal aspect. Okay, so that way it has its own philosophy, which is separate from the Vedic scriptures, and that's why it is coming in the category of Nastik Dharma, because they do not accept the Vedic scriptures, and their philosophy is very intimately connected with that of Buddhism and Advaita philosophy also. Now see, after Buddhism, Shankaracharya came. After Buddha, Shankaracharya came, and then he promoted his Advaita philosophy. So again, what is Advaita? Now Buddhist philosophy is Nasti. Everything is destroyed. Nast. And Shankaracharya philosophy is Neti. Okay. So Neti means I am not that. The supreme absolute truth contains something but is nothing. It is their philosophy of Advaitavad. Okay, and Buddhism says that there is no supreme entity. There is no concept of supreme entity at all. And Jains believe that, okay, there is a supreme, we can become supreme. Like that. So you see, these are all small gradations of the philosophies. So we can understand how they are connected to each other. It's a gradual upgradation of the philosophy. So from Nasti Nasti to Neti Neti. Shankaracharya, now the purpose of Shankaracharya was to re-establish the scriptures, the Vedas, which Buddha had rejected. And Buddha was quite successful in transforming people and convincing people to accept the philosophy of Buddhism. Now we believe that this is possible because he was empowered, and he's the avatar of the Supreme. He's Saktavesh avatar. So that's why he could do it, because now it's a very easy thing to understand that when there is a supreme controller and when he is coming and he is doing things, then he is the absolute right to control things. So he is able to influence everyone. But you don't have supreme controller, then obviously you cannot impose your ideas. That's another thing. So Advaitavad, Neti Neti philosophy is a minor upgradation of Nasti Nasti. The absolute contains nothing. Okay, but the absolute is something, but ultimately it is nothing, like that. So there is a small upgradation. Yeah. So like that, so we can understand there is a proper logic and sequence of events happening here. And there is a purpose for why these things are happening. And then we also understand how the four Vaishnavas, then they gradually come one after another. It's not that the sequence is reversed, or it is not that in between Shankaracharya or Buddha is coming, right? You just imagine what would happen. We are chanting Hare Krishna, we are performing Kirtan, and then suddenly an empowered incarnation of the Lord comes and he says that, oh, you are all sentimental, you are in Maya. And then he promotes this philosophy of Buddhism. So it will disconnect us. It will hamper our constitutional position also. So that's a proper intelligent sequence of events happening here. That's how we actually understand things are happening. Another point is that you see why people are choosing different paths. One can say that it is because of their own choice, own free will. But then one thing we have to realize that this own choice and this inclination is also a result of our previous karmas. So it is always better to be open-minded. So we may have a certain conviction, or we may want to do certain thing, and we have a natural inclination to do things. But then above that, what we have to do is we have to logically think also. That is my path providing me the ultimate goal? Is my path logical? Does it answer all the questions? So, it's whatever choices we are making, obviously it's a consequence of our karma from the past lives. And then again, the thing is, it is all connected to karma. Now see, the important principle to understand here is that you have karma, and then these other philosophies, they are actually not answering the question about karma. See, your connection with a particular path is so connected to your inclination, and the inclination is a result of your karma. And the other philosophies that we are talking about, they are not giving any answers to these questions about karma. What is the origin of karma? So how do you so it makes complete sense that why should I believe in this type of philosophies? Because it is not answering the simple question that where is the karma coming from? Like that. Yeah. And okay, so now any questions or comments? Okay. So now you see there is something which is very interesting in this connection. People, they think about liberation because they get suffering, right? They think about liberation because they get suffering. Do you think that anyone would think about liberation if they are always happy? Do you think people will give priority to impersonal liberation over their family relationships, which is the highest experience of this? To reciprocate with people, to exchange loving relationships, and to be blissful through that, or to merge in impersonal Brahman, or in our own language. Let's say during the Corona time, we were all isolated. So isolation in one sense is actually merging in impersonal liberation because you are completely disconnected from everything, right? So do you like that state, or do you want to be active and you want to meet people, you want to enjoy or share things with them, enjoy with them, go around with them? What is the natural state for a living entity?
To get association.
Yeah, to basically have exchange of relationship, reciprocation of emotions.
Correct.
That's that's the thing, why we are here actually also. So now see how our Vaishnava philosophy, it answers all these questions. So see, first of all, the natural state of a person. Now, if you ask me that will I want to go to Vaikuntha, and if I hear positive things about Vaikuntha, I will definitely go, even if I am in this world, material world, even if I am happy. Okay, because Vaikuntha is just a state of transition from one place to another place, but the same activities are happening with the Supreme Lord in the center. That's it, right? So I will accept it. But if you ask me if I am happy here, and if you ask me, would you like to merge in Brahman? Would you like to isolate yourself? Who is going to accept that? So it makes sense to say that it's a natural constitutional position of a living entity to connect with the Supreme Lord and have a relationship with it. That's the same thing that we are doing here also. So in the material world, let's say even if the material world has all the opulences, okay, and then the difference is that you have God in the center and you do not have God in the center. That's the only difference. So why should I not? In fact, there is everything is pure in the spiritual world. Selfless love, to consider ourselves as the servant of others, to serve others. All these things are very nice, right? I mean, here we want to dictate things and control things. So your happiness can become the cause of distress for others. But there in the spiritual world, everyone is happy, blissful, and everyone's pleasure is the same. Like they all are happy at the same time. There is no distress in the spiritual world. So why would someone not want that kind of state? So it's a natural thing, for a person to understand that I want to be happy, and the way I want to be happy is basically by extending relationships. And if these are eternal, then that will be the best option for me. If there is no suffering at all, if these relationships are eternal, that's the best possible type of salvation for me. Who wants to go in that isolation, right? And you think about isolation only when you think about suffering. But even if you don't suffer, but you are just given this idea that okay, God is also coming, and he will also enjoy with us. So you'll say, okay, let him come, we'll enjoy with God also. So there is an additional factor of God, but ultimately the relationships are all pure, selfless, and they all cause happiness. There is no distress. So this is how we can understand the Vaishnava philosophy. And then see, now coming back to karma. So karma, okay, what is the source of karma? The karma source is that we are responsible for our karmas. We acted in such a way that we have rejected the association of God, and we desire to separate from the Supreme Lord. So we have come in this material world. We had a relationship with the Lord, but we got attracted to the material world, and we decided to come in this world. And then from that point onwards, there is a karma system. Now this karma system is also established in the material world. The Lord has established this because he wants us to go back to him somehow, indirectly. So he does not force, because love means one has free will, and one cannot force someone in order to love someone. That can only be expressed of free will. So the Lord does not force someone, but indirectly is actually kind of making all arrangements so that we go back to him. So that is the purpose of material world. Now this analogy is given that the child is desirous of cooking when he goes to the kitchen and he sees that his mother is cooking, and he becomes very excited to cook. He wants to try it. The child is only like 2-3 years old, so the mother knows that okay, it's just the enthusiasm, it's just the like natural tendency of a child to be excited, but after some time he will get normal. So the mother does not give so much importance. But after insisting a lot of times, what the mother can do, the mother will never give the kitchen to the child for cooking, or the gas stove, right? So what the mother will do, mother will buy a toy gas stove and give it to the son. And so let him just enjoy and let him try to cook. But then what will happen? Because there is no fire, obviously nothing is going to be cooked. So the child will become frustrated, and then he'll again go to the mother and he will say that, okay, I'm happy assisting you. So it's the point that, just the fact that we realize that pure love means that we try to serve others. Even God serves others. It's not that just because he's the supreme controller, he will exploit others or he will be the controller. In fact, he's always looking to serve the devotees. Okay. And the devote. So first of all, understand the meaning of love, understand the meaning of relationship. That is what the Lord is establishing through this material world. That, I would sum up to say that, the entire material world is a method of purification of the conditioned soul, just to make them understand the meaning of pure love. It's a rectification, it's a maturity that one will undergo during the process. That pure love means selfless. You always think about the happiness and welfare of others. So this is a training field, training ground, the material world actually. You are trained to become pure. So once you become pure, you go back to, because everything is pure. I mean, if something that is pure and then you mix impure things, then it will definitely hamper the quality of that thing, right? So similarly, if we want to be with the Lord where everything is pure, then we have to become pure also. So this is, that's why we have karma. So by our actions, we choose certain things, and then we also attain the destination because of that, the results. And because there is a supreme absolute controller, whatever whatever actions I'm following, I will get the results for that. Whatever is there in the scriptures, it makes sense. Scripture is there. Okay, the fact that scripture is there, we have a free will. If scripture was not there, like people sometimes they say that everything is destined. But how can everything be destined if you have scriptures? Because scriptures are telling you what is do and do, or what you should do and what you should not do all the time. And then we have astrology. Through astrology, we can also change one karma. It's not necessarily karma is fixed. So free will and destiny, they are always together. Certain things are destined. For example, because of your previous karma, you have taken birth in a particular family. You have attained a particular body. That is fixed. But then in every lifetime, you have free will at every junction. And in this life, whatever free will you are using, that will be deciding your future lifetime. Whatever choices you are making. Okay. So there is a flow of thoughts. Makes very sense. That okay, this is the reason why I am here, because I did not want to be here, and then I am suffering because I implement and I undergo certain actions, and then it causes me some reaction. And then what is the process to go to get liberation? The process is, and what is liberation? That is explicitly defined. There are many types of liberation. The scriptures explain Brahma, Atma, Paramatma, Bhagwan iti sabhyate, that you can attain Brahman, you can also attain Paramatma, and you can also attain Bhagwan. So it is an all-inclusive philosophy. That's how we say that the Lord does not force us. If he would have said that, okay, no, there is only this path, then we are forced to follow that path. And it seems that we are actually controlled by someone. We are dictated by someone. But when there is a choice, when we can explore many things, then we love that choice because it's coming from our own will and desire. So we'll be happy with that. Right? So this is how, we can clearly see the contrast between Vaishnava philosophy and other philosophies. Now, even in Vaishnava philosophies, there are different technical differences in the 4 Vaishnava sampradayas. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu philosophy is the most evolved. He is also providing the essence of the siddhants of the other sampradayas also. And he's upgrading the philosophy to a ultimate level. Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva. Everything is one and simultaneously different also. So whatever aspects of Vedic scriptures they are conveying, they are all reconciled in the philosophy of Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva. But even if you consider the other Vaishnava sampradayas, like for example Dvaitavad. Now Dvaitavad is like completely against Advaitavad. So there you'll see that matter, Jiva, Bhagwan, all the 3 are separate. They have a completely separate relationship and they are all different. There is duality. But you consider Advaitavad, there is oneness. So there are many statements in the Shastra which talks about oneness. There are statements in Shastra which talk about dualism. So let's reconcile all these things. So we say that, okay, yeah, oneness in terms of qualities and difference in terms of quantity. And that's why Dvaitavad is also kind of contradicting certain scriptures, certain statements of the scriptures. It is not giving complete holistic philosophy. So Vaishnava philosophy is like, we have then philosophy of Shuddha, and then we have Vasishtha Dvaita of Ramanuja, and then we have Madhvacharya Sampradaya of Daitvat, and we have the philosophy of the Vishnu Swami, which is Bhed Abhed Tattva. Okay, so these philosophy are completely included. They are holistically explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now so basically the idea is that once your basic understanding about the philosophy is clear, then we can also come to know that, yeah, so now, okay, so there is Goloka, there is spiritual world, there is Brahman, there is Paramatma, everything is there. We don't reject that. Some followers, they would like to attain that state. Some people, they would like to attain certain states, right? But according to scriptures, what it says is that this is not a permanent position. Brahman, liberation, is not a permanent. And especially Srila Prabhupada has many times he has explained that one can even fall down from that Brahman position. So there are many examples of that. So now, because the constitutional position is defined like that, right? The constitutional position is to love God, to be a servant of God. Jira Swarupoy Nitya Krishna Das. That's the constitutional position of the living entity. So it has to ultimately go to the natural state, right? And that's how, even if you attain liberation, different types of liberation, but still there is a chance you can again attain the abode of the Lord. That's the greatness of the infinite mercy of the Supreme Lord. So he can give you some temporary experience of a certain thing, but the highest thing, if you want, then he can give you that. He will ultimately give you that also. So this is how we understand about how Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate. So basically, Bhakti Yoga is devotional service to the Supreme Lord. That is the meaning of Bhakti Yoga. And because we see that relationships are all, in the material world, we see relationships are the source of enjoyment and bliss. And one would never want to separate, so that's how we can understand that. And then again, we can understand from the logic and philosophy of other scriptures that they are not providing more comprehensive information about everything in the Vedic scriptures. So that's why we have this Vedanta, and Vedanta has to be understood and read completely. It has to be a holistic approach. Yeah, so any question or comment?
So while you have taken the base of Vaishnavism to speak about bhakti, but actually this is it's meant to speak about bhakti vis-a-vis the other paths, right? And bhakti would can in general mean bhakti to any of the demigods, which we can take up in the
not able to hear you clearly.
Hello. Yeah. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, now clear.
Yes, I was saying that you have taken the base of you have taken the example of Vaishnavism to speak about bhakti today. Bhakti vis-a-vis the other paths towards the divine. However, in general, as people generally understand, that bhakti would mean a devotional attitude to any of the gods and not limited to the path of Vaishnavism. So today, basically what you said, you've clarified is that bhakti is the superior path to liberation. as compared to the other paths. And
Yeah.
within Bhakti, what are the other subdivisions or the various varieties in the Bhakti? So there, what is a highest platform of Bhakti, or what is the other options available? That is something which you will probably take up in future talk. Is that right?
Yeah. So because we are out of time, so that particular topic, the second part of this session will be covered in the next class, because that will also require some explanation. That why Bhakti is connected to Vishnu or to the Ishwar Tattva. So that will be coming up in the next class. Now another just wanted to add. The point is that ultimately we know that karma and jnana are material elements. After attaining liberation, karma and jnana is gone. So how can karma and jnana be the ultimate path? Right? You perform some karma, you attain a result, right? And then, okay, if you want to liberate yourself, then you are free from karma. And similarly, Jnana Yoga also, you acquire knowledge, you start meditating on the impersonal aspect or the Paramatma, and then you again attain liberation, and then everything is gone. But Bhakti is the only thing which is always there. Because even if you want to commit yourself for a particular path, you require devotion for that. You require, that dedication and devotion is required for committing to any particular path. So we can clearly see, even yoga also, Ashtanga yoga, these are all bodily things. And body is obviously not going to be there, the gross body. So with what are you going to perform Ashtanga yoga after liberation? So the goal, impersonal liberation, it's a kind of, I feel that it's a cover-up thing. Just because you don't have a proper liberation definition or the specific information of liberation, you just kind of cover it up by saying that, okay, you just want to merge in Brahman, which is actually not the ultimate reality. Now, yes, if you connect Brahman with the Supreme Source, then we understand that, okay, it is the bodily effulgence of the Supreme God, right? Then we accept that, okay, they are accepting a source, but they would like to merge in Brahman. But out of nothing, suddenly Brahman is, or suddenly you want to have personal liberation. So that seems very weird. So we understand that karma and jnana, they are no longer present when we attain liberation. But bhakti, after liberation, bhakti is continuous. That's the another point. And then, whichever path we follow, we are expected to be rewarded. That's a natural thing. Whichever path we want to follow, we want to get rewarded for that. We want to advance in that path, right? So it means that there is a supreme person who is reciprocating with our desire. He's allowing us and he's sanctioning that result. So it means ultimately that there has to be a supreme person. Now, do you say that, okay, it's impersonal Brahman who is doing all these things? Then you are again attributing personality traits to the Brahman. So the fact that you are getting rewarded for a path, it means you are rewarded by a person. So that's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am the one who actually makes the faith of who make the faith of every individual steady in that particular worship of particular demigod or particular path. He is the inspiration for that. So without that, one cannot even actually progress. That's a very important thing to understand. All right. So I think, yeah, we are done now. Any more question or comment?
That's good for me. Would you like to tell us something about? Would you like to tell us something about your book?
Oh yeah. So okay. So my book is 20 plus must know facts about Hinduism. I just released it on the day of Ramnavami, and it has some must know facts about Hinduism, because there are a lot of misconceptions people have, especially the Indians or the Hindus, and they are not aware of certain principles or eternal truths. about the Vedic scriptures. So maybe they are just connected to one aspect, as we are discussing. They are just probably connected to one aspect of the Vedic scripture, but then there are multiple aspects of the Vedic scripture. So as we have discussed in this particular session, and we have established that Bhakti Yoga is actually the ultimate path. So similarly, the book is basically about clearing misconceptions, and also establishing the fact that this is not Bhakti Yoga is not a sentimental process. It is always there in the Vedic scriptures. It is always described. It's just that it was hidden for a long period of time. Now it is reviving because of the efforts of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ji, who is the founder of Acharya ISKCON. And so the book is an attempt to answer all these questions. Like, so there are different categories about God, about Krishna in specific, about ISKCON in specific, about karma, about a lot of general doubts which are answered, and then there are conceptual principles by which we can actually establish the reality, the ultimate reality. Those conceptual principles, once they are cleared, then it is very easy to actually accept the other answers to the other questions in the book. So yeah, so this is what I attempted to do in the book, and hopefully a lot of people can get connected to it and also explore the other realities of Vedic scriptures.
Yes, maybe in the footnotes we can put the link for the Amazon link where we can get them. Is it possible to do that?
Yeah. Actually, it's live on Facebook, and I logged out. Actually, I wanted to check if there are any comments from the audience or. Okay. As of now, I don't see any comments. Yeah. So we can, I can definitely post the link of the book here. If someone would like to purchase the book, then they can visit Amazon and they can purchase. Okay, all right. So thank you so much, Rajiv ji, for your time.
Okay.
And it was a wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.